Welcome back to Open. I'm your host, Darren Jaime. The number and email, of course, are at the bottom of your screen. All you have to do is pick up the phone or get on the net to share your opinions and suggestions. The opinion of the day or the question of the day is really to talk about the separation between church and state. Joining us once again to continue our discussion on whether or not there really is a separation between politics and religion are political science professors Marriah Starr and Judy Duncker, and we thank them again for staying with us. We talked a little bit about, prior to the break, about when did we see the evolution of this? It's definitely a part of political strategy today. When you look at the last election, President George Bush was able to garner a lot of votes through the evangelicals. Bush himself saying, admitting that he's a Methodist and his conservative viewpoints really pushed evangelical voters, and it really did begin to shed an even greater spotlight on the fact that, this whole thing about politics and religion can play a part in political strategy. Yeah. How much are we seeing, how much do you think it's going to make a difference this time around?
I certainly believe it will continue to make a difference. The religious community have now decided that values and religious Christian values are important to a lot of people, and so they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, in the election vote. And politicians are actually catering to those desires.
I want to talk for a minute, and I'll let you get the first dibs on it as soon as we start, because we know that presidential candidate Mitt Romney, looking for that on the Republican side, had really had a press conference, if you will, a speech, really talking about his faith. Something that we've heard a lot of other political issues talked about, but to really step up and take a look at faith. And we do have a clip of Mitt Romney's speech when he's really addressing the nation in regards to his faith and values and how it plays out into his political life. And we're going to take a look at that now, and then as we come back, we'll hear from Professor Starr.
American values, this great moral heritage, is shared and lived in my religion as it is in yours. I was taught in my home to honor God and love my neighbor. I saw my father march with Martin Luther King. I saw my parents provide compassionate care to others in personal ways to people nearby, and in just as consequential ways in leading national volunteer movements. I'm moved by the Lord's words, for I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. My faith is grounded on these truths. You can witness them in Ann and my marriage, and in our family. We're a long way from perfect, and we surely stumbled along the way. But our aspirations, our values, are the self-same as those from the other faiths that stand upon this common foundation. And these convictions will indeed inform my presidency. Today's generations of Americans have always known religious liberty. Perhaps we forget the long and arduous path our nation's forebears took to achieve it. They came here from England to seek freedom of religion. But upon finding it for themselves,
trying to erase all the doctrinal differences between the denominations. Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Mormon, Muslim, he's saying we're all the same. And we all have the same values, we all have the same foundations. What he's trying to do with the speech, and it's a very interesting speech, he's trying to unite the religious community against the non-religious community. You see, John Kennedy in '60 did the exact opposite. He said, I'm a Catholic, but as president, I will not let my Catholic religion inform my decisions. I will instead have the interests of the state first. What Romney's saying here is, I'm a Christian first, politician second, just as we're all religious first and citizens second. So it's a completely different approach. The exact opposite message that Kennedy gave in '60.
But yet, and still in the immediate, his numbers do go up.
His numbers do go up, absolutely. However, there will be a little fallout because in terms of trying to unite the Christian community, there are some fundamental differences that in the doctrinal values of Romney and other Christian denominations, which I believe is going to be a major bridge, I should say not a bridge, an obstacle in the race, as well as the fact that I'm not quite sure if he's uniting the Jewish faith, because he quoted Jesus, which is not which is something that's a division between Christianity and Judaism. So we're not quite sure what the fallout of this is going to be.
See, the fundamental problem here is that most Christians think Mormonism is fake. You know, you have Joseph Smith finding gold tablets in upstate New York. And most Christians say, oh, this is a fraud. You know, this is a religion that is manufactured out of thin air, has no basis in reality. So it's cult in their sense. What Romney's trying to say is, no, I'm really a Christian. I have these values. We all believe in the same things. So yes, you can vote for me and know that I will defend your faith in office. And that's something very different than what Kennedy was saying. But I think the most important variable here is the rise of Mike Huckabee. The former governor of Arkansas, a Baptist minister. Huckabee has shown himself to be a very viable candidate for the religious right. So what Romney's trying to do here is say, I'm one of you. I'm not an outsider. Mormonism is a faith that is central to the American story.
But I believe that eventually this whole approach will fall apart.
Well, that's the question.
Especially in the African-American community, because Mormonism at one point had sort of chose to diminish the importance of African-Americans, and African-Americans do hold that against the faith. So it will come back in the long run to be troubling.
Yes.
Well, we want to tell our viewers this all started a long time ago with President John F. Kennedy. Well, actually before Kennedy, but Kennedy was really the one that put things into the national spotlight. He gave a speech about faith, if you will, and really his religious views. And we have a copy of that, so we want to go to that right now, and then we'll come back and discuss a little bit more. But this is President John F. Kennedy talking about his religious views.
Is necessarily and properly the chief topic here tonight. I want to emphasize from the outset that I believe that we have far more critical issues in the 1960 campaign. The spread of communist influence until it now festers only 90 miles from the coast of Florida. The humiliating treatment of our president and vice president by those who no longer respect our power. The hungry children I saw in West Virginia. The old people who cannot pay their doctor's bills.
Okay, as we're seeing right now, that is President John F. Kennedy. He hasn't gotten to the part yet where he's talking literally about his religious views, but I want to, and as soon as we get that, we're going to bring that to you. But one of the things that I want to talk about is, you know, let's talk about the scope of politics for a minute, because here you are talking about a Mike Huckabee who's making a rise as a Baptist minister. Mitt Romney, his numbers continue to rise yet and still, and he talked about his faith and his, you know, his viewpoint. But then again, at the top of the Republican list is a person by the name of Rudolph Giuliani, somebody that we're all familiar with right here. They know the questions about the fact that, you know, he's had 3 marriages, questionable extramarital affairs, things of that nature, but yet and still, at this present point, he remains at the top of the Republican Party. So one can honestly say that, yeah, religion and politics, you know, has a certain view. But then there's also another set of people out there that really, you know, from a moral standpoint, Giuliani wouldn't be a leader.